I was preparing a client on Friday. I'll just add this to our stream here. Oh, darn, it didn't come up too clearly. That's unfortunate. So if you've ever had a personal reading with me, you'll know before I do the reading, I do some writing. And this is one of the sheets that I use to do writing. And I was in the middle of doing the writing. I was connecting with a client, and this message came through that although it was for her, it was also for a broader audience of people as well. And I'll just read you what came up. Be aware of the story you're telling and the role you play in it. Is this a story that supports your growth and ability to move forward? Are the tools that will help you to do that ones that you can write into your story? It's time to rewrite your story and focus on the story you're building and creating rather than the story that you're coming from. And this message felt really significant to me. As you can see, I've written it down separately. But then on top of that evening, I'm going to share something else with you guys. This is kind of fun. We're doing lots of sharing here tonight. Later that evening, I hopped onto Facebook. I hope you can see this. And Irene Bilton of Soulcraft is another reader on Vancouver Island. She's located in Port Alberni. She has lots of really wonderful offerings as well. And she shared this message: be mindful of the stories you're telling yourself. Feed your mind and body stories of love, hope, and strength. And I thought, man, if ever I needed confirmation, if ever there was need of confirmation of the messages that we need to be hearing right now, it is to come into this greater awareness of the stories that we're telling. So I know I'm certainly guilty of this too. The intention with the stories is often to re-empower, to like reconfirm, like, hey, you've come from a really dark place, or you've gone through really difficult things. And of course, you can overcome this thing that you're dealing with right now. But sometimes the intention kind of starts to waffle a little bit, and the borders around that start to shift a little bit. And suddenly you're starting to go into a bit of a victim, or a bit of a poor me, or a pity state, like, oh man, I've gone through all of these things and now this other thing. So I think it's really important to take a moment and take the pieces and the parts of the stories from what you've gone through, what you've experienced, what you've learned, to take the pieces of empowerment forward so that you can continue on your journey. And rather than bringing all of the crap with you, pick and choose and say, hey, maybe this piece of this story, it can stay behind. I know that it was there. I don't need to continue retelling it in order for it to be valid. We don't need to continue to traumatize ourselves over and over again with the stories that we hold. And instead, we can focus on a lot of the positive parts. Now, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that you bypass any of the healing work that you need to go through with that. If you notice that you are repeating stories over and over again and you can't get out of the cycle, that's a really awesome indication that it's time to reach out and look for a bit of help and support. How can I heal from this thing? Because if you've got story on repeat that's dragging you and pulling you down, that's intuition, your subconscious, universe, angels, that's their way of letting you know, like, hey, you've got this great big huge boulder, either that's in front of your path or that you're dragging along behind you. It would be a lot easier if we could let it go. So let's take a look and see how we can do that. I loved the final message that Irene had with feed your mind and body stories of love, hope, and strength. And so that's part of the encouragement that I have coming up for all of us today, is to find those stories that we have of our own, where we have hope, love, courage, and strength. All right, so I want to say a quick hello to everybody who's joined us this evening. Hello to Ange and Divya. It's so good to see both of you. Hello to Danielle and Cindy. Shante, I really hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Welcome to the show. Hello to Leslie. It's great to see you. And Brianne. Guy, it's wonderful to see you too. Thanks for joining us. And Cindy, hello. It's wonderful to see all of you. Thanks for joining me this evening. So in just a moment, we will open up the invitation to start asking questions. But hold on just a sec. I really enjoyed doing the choose your own crystal adventure. This was actually a little bit of a throwback for me when I was strictly doing the weekly readings on YouTube and doing a pre-recorded weekly forecast for what was coming up. And I had a lot of fun with them, so we're going to bring them back. So what I'd like to invite you to do is take a moment and think about a question that you may be dealing with right now. You're welcome to ask more than one question. This is a solitary reading that we're going to be doing. So you're welcome to share it in the comments if you'd like, or you're welcome to keep it just to yourself. And think about a question or a couple of questions that you may have that you'd like answers to. The questions can be about certain situations or circumstances in your life. It can be as simple as, what do I need to know right now? And once you have your question or questions in mind, close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths, ask your question, and then ask which crystal best represents the question that I'm asking. So the crystals are what you're choosing to represent the cards that I'm going to pull in just a moment. Your choices from left to right are citrine, ametrine, and amethyst. And one of the things that I love about these three particular crystals is that they all have the same chemical composition to them. Citrine was formed at a higher temperature, so it is the same chemical composition as amethyst. Often citrine, like the one that I have pictured here, has been heated. It's been man-made. It's amethyst that has been heated to change the color to the bright yellow, because natural citrine is much paler. And ametrine is a combination of both. So there is citrine and amethyst, so little pockets where there was a hotter temperature when the stone was formed. All right, so I hope you've asked your questions. And let's send the opportunity out right now to ask your personal questions for tonight's reading. So if you have a question this evening that you would like to ask, please ask it now in the comments. If you want me to use a specific card deck for your question, please mention it in the initial comment. We have the yellow deck, which is the Archangel Oracle card deck, the blue deck, which is the Mermaids and Dolphins, and the green deck is the messages from your angels. Oops, I've unintentionally press that button. Okay, awesome. So we'll just go through, we'll pull a card for each of the crystals, see what the messages are for us. Oh, you guys, I keep hitting the space bar on my computer. You're welcome to ask questions. Oh my gosh, Mercury retrograde at its finest. Actually, no, that's pretty tame for Mercury retrograde. All right. Let's take a look. So if you chose citrine for your question this evening, the card that we have for you is courage. This is Archangel Uriel, and her message is be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. So whatever it is that you are asking about this evening, know that it's really important for you to stand your ground. I was flip-flopping about the conversation we were going to have at the beginning of the show this evening. Were we going to talk about stories, or were we going to talk about boundaries? And this is definitely a boundaries card. One of the ideas that's recently been presented to me that I actually really love and resonate with is you can't change anybody's behavior, but you can create boundaries around what you will tolerate and then the actions that you will take. So you can ask somebody until you're blue in the face to change their behavior, but at the end of the day, if they don't want to, they probably won't. So do you continue to stay in a situation where your boundaries have been crossed, or do you say, hey, like, that's it, I'm out, I'm making the change, I'm enforcing the boundary for myself? So be courageous, stand up for your beliefs, but also at the same time be ready to make the changes yourself so that you can be in a healthy place. And if you're having a hard time doing that, call on Archangel Uriel. You might say, Erin, I don't remember the angels' names. That's okay. You can say, angels, please help me. I need to leave this situation, or I need to make a change for myself so it's okay to remain in this situation. Maybe that's what the boundary is for you. You can always call on your angels and ask them for help and support in that way. If you do remember the names, Archangel Ariel, she's kind of like the girlfriend who has your back. Like, she's pretty sassy as far as angels go. And she can really help to make significant change in your life and help you to stand your ground. So call on Archangel Ariel if you remember. If you chose the ametrine crystal, that's the one that we had in the middle, the message we have for you this evening is accept heaven's help. This card is from the Mermaids and Dolphins deck. You've prayed for help, so get out of the way and let heaven help you. Usually when this card comes up, there is some aspect that we are trying to push and force. We've been asking for help and support, but we're wanting to see it in a certain way. So for example, maybe we want to see exactly $500 come into our bank account within a certain amount of time. And if it's not exactly that amount, well, then it didn't work. And universe might be saying, well, we can cut this bill here, or we can, give you a little support here. Maybe there's a little extra that comes in here. The net benefit might be the same, but sometimes our expectation is so focused on a certain and specific outcome that we completely miss the help that is being given. So if you are asking for help and support, or you're feeling like you're kind of stuck in the circumstances or situation that you're in, accepting help in other areas of your life can be particularly helpful in ushering in help and support where you're truly wanting and needing it. So for example, if somebody offers to give you a hand, it can be as simple as opening and closing a door. Most of us are more than capable of doing that. And sometimes we'll overextend ourselves. Maybe we've got a whole pile of groceries that we're carrying, and somebody offers to hold the door and we're like, no, it's okay, I've got it. Just accept the help. And the last card, if you chose the amethyst crystal, the card for the evening for you is Isaiah. This is from the messages from your angels. It's a good time to give birth to new ideas and situations in your life. I am watching over you, guiding and protecting you during these changes. So the card that we have coming up here for you is an indication that there might be some new beginnings that are happening in life. This is a very pregnant card. So if the question that you're asking about does have to do with children or pregnancy or new family members, this could certainly indicate that is coming and that's happening. But if you aren't interested in expanding family or having children, no worries. This is not necessarily indicative of that either. It's just that we are in a place of clearing, cleaning, creating space, creating room, and creating opportunity for a fresh start, for a new beginning. So take a look at the question that you've asked. How can you create space in these circumstances or the situation that you've asked about in order to invite in new opportunity? I'm very aware that we are coming up on the energy of the full moon this weekend. We've just come into Mercury retrograde, and there's also an eclipse this coming weekend as well. There's a lot of stuff that's happening, and it is a really wonderful time to clear out the things, the ideas, the circumstances or situations, or the way that you interact with circumstances and situations. It's a great time to start clearing out the things that are no longer serving you, no longer supporting you, to make that space, to create that opportunity for new to come in. And that's a big part of what we've got going on with this card. Lots of clearing. All right, let's pop back over to the comments and see what messages we have coming up. I just noticed somebody, I didn't catch who it was. I'm scrolling through, who's asked if I have any messages for them. Please ask a specific question. So for example, if you ask like, what messages do you have for me? Or you just say like, love life. I don't answer those questions, and we don't do mediumship on the show either. So please ask a specific question. For example, what do I need to know about the romantic relationship and partnership that I'm in right now? What do I need to know about getting my career on track? Those are really more specific questions, and I'd be happy to help you with those. Awesome. Let's see. So let me see. We've got Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Thanks for joining us. And Jerry says, hi, made it. The kitchen can wait. Absolutely. I love a pile of dishes sitting in the kitchen just waiting for you. I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. And hello to Cindy and Danielle and Kayla. And we've got, let me see. I want to make sure that I'm saying hello to everybody. And Linda. Oh, wonderful. Thanks for joining us this evening. Okay, let me see. So, Cindy said that she chose amethyst. Awesome. What do I need to know about my friend's situation? He is really sick and coming for a visit. Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got coming up. So the first thing that I'm getting is I'm wanting to create space, to clear space, and to make room. I'm also hearing boundaries coming up as being significant and important too. So I don't know about the connection that you have with this particular friend, but I am really wanting to create some space so that each of you have your own space that you can go to during the visit. This feels like this is a bit of a break, a bit of relief. And I've got a lot actually that's coming up in my chest. So this is feeling like this is congestion. I'm not sure if possibly that's part of the unwellness that he's currently dealing with. But I'm wanting to pay attention to that. The other reason that this can come up is it can have to do with grief, or it can have to do with unresolved emotion that we have sitting on the chest. And this feels like this could be appropriate for either of you. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a certain amount of healing that ends up happening during the visit, or after the visit, that the visit itself triggers something for one or both of you. So I wanted to kind of pay attention to that to see what comes up. But basically, the big thing that I have coming through is making sure that you're creating space. So creating space for him while he's there, creating space in your schedule so that the two of you can have time together, but also that you have time that's apart. And I am really wanting to pay attention to chest and to other things that might be coming up throughout the time of the visit that you have together. Let's see, we're going to go. I've chosen the messages from your angels just to see what messages are coming up for you, Cindy. Let me see. Oh, actually, we had two popping out. Interesting. So the first one that we have is Archangel Uriel. And Archangel Uriel is one of the angels who helps us with healing on an emotional level. So I find it really interesting that we had those potential grief and or emotional healing coming up during his visit. Your emotions are healing, which enables you to open to greater love. I will help you release anger and unforgiveness from your heart and mind. So I don't know if this is necessarily emotional stuff that is within the relationship that the two of you have, within the friendship that you have, or if this is something else that's being tweaked and triggered, but it does feel like there's emotion that's coming up. I'm also being reminded that we will be in community retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and that communication can be challenged and strained at this time. It's really easy to misunderstand each other. So create space also in conversation, and encouragement that's here is to make sure that both of you are really listening to what the other person is saying and expressing, and perhaps looking to get to the heart of what is intended. Because sometimes when we're miscommunicating, part of the reason is we're having a difficult time getting the words out that we want to use. So a bit of compassion and grace feels like it can go a long way. And the last card that we have here is the Seraphina card. I am the angel of families. A happy change or addition is coming to your family. This is really interesting because you chose the amethyst card, which was also about giving birth to new situations. So I don't know if you are wanting an addition in your family or expecting it. It may be yours, it may be somebody else's. But this can also be an indication that the level of relationship and connection that the two of you have is at more of a family level. You know, when I think about friends, I think about them as being the family that we choose. We weren't born into our friendship families, but it's the family that we choose, and that's a really significant thing too. Cindy, I'm really glad that you joined us this evening. Thank you so much for popping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and healing to you and to your friend. All right, we've got Danielle here. Hi, Danielle. Thanks for joining us. Danielle chose Citrine, and she's saying, going through major uncertainty with my career. My employer has sold. Will my current contract? Okay. Oh, so your employer has sold. I'm assuming the business. And will your current contract be honored by the new employer? Will I even be presented a job offer? Will I be taking a wage deduction? Old employer honor the commitment they had to me. So it sounds like there's a lot of uncertainty around what's happening with your work situation. So let's just tap in and see what we have going on, Danielle. Um, so I am seeing that there is stability that's coming, and one of the things that I'm hearing is leap and the net will appear. And so the leap doesn't feel so much like it's a change that you are making, but it feels like it's a leap of faith that you will be caught and supported. One of the things that I noticed that hasn't really been addressed in the question that you have is, what would you do if both were to give you a contract and an opportunity? What would happen if your current employer and the new employer both said to you, "Hey, Danielle, we really like what you're doing and would like to see you either come on or stay on with us." And it feels like a lot of the concern that you have has to do with like that what if down, like what if this awful thing happens and this other awful thing happens. But what I'm seeing is focusing on, well, what if the problem and the challenge that you faced wasn't that there was nothing there, but what if the challenge that you faced was actually an overabundance of option? Um, when I ask, I am seeing that there are two options that are coming up, but in addition to that, it feels like there's a third option. So when I take a look at work and career for you, yeah, it feels like it's a little bit bumpy for the next little while. It feels like a month, 6 weeks. I'd be really surprised if the uncertainty extends beyond 6 weeks. But it feels like there's another opportunity that's going to present itself beyond the two that you're currently looking at and talking about. And so, again, I'm seeing that the problem that you're actually facing feels like it's an overabundance of opportunity. And how do you decide which one is the best fit? One of the things that I notice is that each of the two opportunities that you are currently kind of wondering about, they feel like they veer off and they go in a different direction. Where this other opportunity shows me that it feels like it continues on a really clear path and clear trajectory. And it feels like there's, I would say that there's probably clear communication, there's clear vision. It feels like what's currently happening is very well established, and where there isn't a lot of uncertainty. So, as I said, I do see that there's going to be option and opportunity for you in terms of work and career, but it feels like there's going to be an additional option. And I see you actually going for that rather than focusing on the two that are coming up. As I said, I would be really surprised if this is going more than 6 weeks out. But it feels like as we come into the end of June, you've got a very clear, you're very clear in terms of the direction that you're going with your work, and it feels like you're belted in, you're buckled in. So I would say that everything is very secure at that point as well. We're going to the Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle card deck, and the reason for that is they have to do with movement and finances, and where is my place and how do I fit in? And I kind of giggle a little bit. The card that we have here is Have Faith. And if I look at all of the messages that were coming up for you, that's kind of the intention that was coming through. Your prayers are manifesting. Remain positive and follow your guidance. So what I would say to that is it does feel like it's really important to start shifting the mindset a little bit from one of lack. What if I don't have an opportunity here or here and then I have nothing? Move into a place where what if I have both an opportunity with my old employer and with the new employer and with this other opportunity that's coming up, because that feels like that's a much easier place for you to work from. And I am seeing a lot of support that's coming up under you that's helping to carry you through. Danielle, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of manifestation angels and energy as well. Awesome. Let me see. So we've got Kayla here. I'm just looking to see, Kayla, how I can answer your question. Okay, so the focus that I'm seeing right now for Kayla is what is it that I need to know? And I'm hearing more about uh life path in general is kind of what I'm hearing. That you've said here that you've been on a bit of a path lately. The first thing that I'm hearing and seeing for you is the need to back up a step. It feels like you're kind of caught up in a situation that's kind of tumbling and moving on its own. Think of a boulder that's rolling downhill where there isn't a huge amount of control over like the direction that it's taking. It's just kind of going wherever it wants to. It feels like part of what you're needing to do is to step back again, back a little bit and retain a little bit of control. I don't like using that word, but that's kind of what you're doing. You're saying, rather than just letting life kind of go and slip and to move in front of you, you're like, no, no, I'm going to approach this in this way. And I keep hearing getting back to basics. So focusing on the things that you have control over. And those things tend to be things like eating on a regular basis, or the food choices that you're making, getting enough sleep, or creating enough time for relaxation, and focusing on making sure that you have social interactions. Again, I hesitate to use the making sure that you have, because that sets up a lot of expectation. And really what I'm seeing is more you're kind of putting some things on hold, and you're saying, I'm going to approach this from a mindful place. What is it? What is it that I'm wanting to create for myself? What is it that I'm wanting to create within these relationships that I have? And potentially this is something that you are doing in a collaborative way as well. So what are we wanting to create within our relationship? Whether this is like a partnership or friendships or family relationships, how are we wanting to move forward together? And it feels like there's some conversation and communication that's needing to happen. That said, I'm seeing you focusing on yourself first. So getting clear with what it is that you are wanting to create in your life, and the things that you can do on a regular day-by-day basis to help make you feel like you are grounded, connected, and supported in where you are and what you're doing. And we're just going to ask, we're going to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and I'm just going to ask, what does Kayla need to know right now, moving forward, to keep her in a happy, healthy, and positive space? And, tonight we're really bang on with the cards, guys. The message that we have this evening is Archangel Michael, and it's crystal clear intentions. Be clear about what you desire and focus upon it with unwavering faith. So get rid of like the mind clutter or the doubt, and focus instead, like get laser focused. What is it that I'm wanting to create? Yes, this situation is feeling a little bit crazy. It's feeling a little bit out of control. It's not where I'm wanting to be. Okay, so you know that that's not what you want. What do you want? What are you going to focus on instead? And please call on your angels and ask them for help and support. Archangel Michael helps and supports us. One of the ways that he helps and supports us is in our life path and life direction. And that kind of includes a lot of different things. That includes the relationships that we have. That includes the work that we're doing or that we're not doing. It includes the interactions, the quality of our overall life and living. So call on Archangel Michael, ask him for help and support in kind of shifting you back into the path and the direction that you want to be on. I'm also reminded of the idea of manifestation and flipping through different realities. We have lots of different realities that we're currently living in. And I don't know if you remember the old time televisions where you would like literally flip with a with a knob, a turning knob. The words just aren't there, with the turning knob. And sometimes you would end up kind of partway in between stations on the television. And it feels like that's kind of where you are. So you just need to make a little adjustment so that you're on a full and complete television station, or like a full and complete experience in your life. And there's also the opportunity for you to flip through a couple of those experiences and land on the one that you're currently wanting to move forward with. It's kind of a neat manifestation technique that you can use. And I'd encourage you to play with it a little bit. Kayla, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. All right, we've got Ange here. Hi, Ange. Thanks for joining us. She says, an acting job recently fell into my lap on a big show, and it sparked something in me again. Ooh, congratulations. The director even pulled me aside and invited me back, saying she wants to work with me again. I'm looking into some acting classes. Do you see me being successful at this? Okay, let's take a look and see what we have. Yeah, first of all, I'm wanting to encourage you to definitely look into the acting classes. The job and the opportunity that's come up for you feels like it's a really great experience. And I am wanting to encourage you to continue to invest with it. There's something that I'm seeing that's going out. Like, I don't know if this is a show that has episodes or if you're talking about something that's more of a movie that would be like one longer thing. But part of what I'm seeing is like partway through, it feels like there's some sort of change. I can't tell exactly what it is, but they're showing me it in episodes or in pieces. I'm seeing something that looks like it's kind of like 8 overall. So if it's actually 24, then this is possibly representing the better part of the first half. But it feels like about 3 episodes out of 8 in, there's a change that happens and there's a switch up. That said, it does still feel like it's a really important thing for you to go through and to experience, because I'm seeing it taking you to the next thing. So definitely yes on the acting classes, definitely say yes to this opportunity, because regardless of how far you go in it, my hope is that you go right to the end, but that there's something, it feels like there's something that shifts or changes partway through, but that's going to take you to the next thing. And it reminds me of going across the monkey bars. And I'm just going to preface this by saying I was terrible at the monkey bars, but my sister was awesome at the monkey bars. And so when she was little, she would like swing from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. She had really great rhythm. It was really easy and effortless. And that's what I'm seeing this situation being for you. Each rung is representing a new opportunity and a new thing that's happening. And you are swinging easily from this opportunity into the next opportunity, into the next opportunity. So even if there is like a shortening or it doesn't come together exactly as you're expecting or hoping, it is taking you into the next thing. And that is really positive and really exciting. So yes, go for it. Full steam ahead. And we're going to go to the messages from, the Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle card deck. And we're just going to ask, what does Ange need to know about this acting opportunity? Oh, interesting. So the card that we have coming up here is soulmate relationship. New romance with a spiritual basis is here for you now. So this can mean a lot of different things with the question that you've asked. This can be helping to bring you closer into an existing soulmate relationship. It can help to invite in a new relationship and partnership if that's where things are going. It can deepen the relationship and the connection that you have with yourself. But, regardless of how this card is manifesting, it feels like the opportunities that are there, I almost want to call it synchronistic in that there's one thing and the next and the next and the next. And part of that is that relationships with a soul level purpose is coming together. And it's just part of that, everything falling into place, one thing to next, to the next, to the next. And it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of congratulations and celebration too. This is really exciting news. All right, Leslie, if you want to ask a specific question, I would so love to tap in and to see what's coming up for you. I really need something to sink my teeth into. And part of the reason that I do that, I only take a couple of minutes with each person. And if you ask something about if you ask a specific question about a specific area in your life, I'm really able to sink my teeth into it. So please ask a specific question. I'd love to connect with you. I'll scroll down and see in a couple of readings if you've had a chance to respond. Okay, so Jerry is asking for the messages from the angels. Thank you. Will I succeed if I step out of my comfort zone and work with the public? Oh, yes. I don't know if what you're planning on doing has you in a role where you are speaking, but it feels like I saw you when you said step out of your comfort zone. I immediately saw you moving out onto a stage where you were speaking, where you were expressing yourself. So if what you are looking at has anything to do with speaking with people, I would get it. I get a really strong yes with that, and I want to encourage you to pursue it. The other thing that I'm hearing is I'm kind of wanting to encourage you to potentially really step out of your comfort zone and take a look at opportunities that would put you on a stage, whether it's from the perspective of acting or like speaking from about something that you know about, or from a motivational point of view, or from an experience point of view. But there's a lot that's coming up around speaking for you. And I've got a lot of clearing that's coming up in your throat chakra too, with really putting yourself out there, speaking your truth. So although part of what you might be doing is working with the public in like a non not a non-truthful way, but maybe uh, like for example, if you were working with somewhere where there were customers, say, you wouldn't necessarily be in an environment where you were speaking your truth. But what I'm seeing is it feels like there's something where you are really speaking your truth, and there are like layers that are being taken off. So there is some sort of repression that is melting away, that's moving away. It's creating opportunity for new connections and deeper connections. And I'm really wanting to encourage you to explore that. I'm not sure that that's exactly what you've been asking about, but it feels like that's what you're ready for. So I'm hearing I'm hearing, watch out, world. Here she comes in the best and most exciting possible way. So please, yes, do it. Let's take a look. We're going to the messages from your angels, and we're just going to ask what message is coming up for you. So this card is really interesting. First of all, I don't know if you can really see with my lighting here or not, but the color, the primary and predominant color is a light blue. And the light blue is the color associated with our throat chakra. So I'm seeing that as a really big confirmation that speaking is in some way connected to what it is that you're going to be doing, whether that's the specific question you're asking about or not, but there is some speaking that you're needing to do. This is the Bethany card, and her message is, when you take excellent care of yourself, everybody benefits. Give yourself a relaxing treat today, such as a massage, sea salt bath, or pedicure. I mean, this is very much a self-care and kind of a pampering card. And I always encourage that for people. I mean, we can pamper ourselves in a lot of different ways. But another way that we can take care of ourselves is to really honor the things that are important to us and to speak about them too. So, just to expand on the idea of self-care. Self-care is not only like sea salt bath and massage and pedicure, though those are amazing ways that we can take care of ourselves. Self-care can really be recognizing boundaries and speaking our truth and making shifts and changes, and a lot of the things that we've talked about so far today. So, Jerry, I'm really excited about what I'm seeing you doing, and really wanting to encourage you to take off with it, because it feels like you're in the perfect place for it. It is always a pleasure connecting with you. I'm so incredibly glad that you joined us this evening, and I was really glad to see you on the Oracle chats on Sunday night. It was such a pleasure connecting with you. I'm so glad that you kicked us off with the questions about card reading. It was wonderful. I really appreciate that. Jerry, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, particularly speaking wise. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look here. Okay, there we go. Leslie did ask a question. Let me see. Oh, okay. So Leslie is asking about weather. Will the angels do weather reports? um, what will the weather be like this summer north of Kamloops? We had fires last year, and I'm nervous about this year. Okay, let's take a look and see. I'm going to preface this by saying, please keep an eye on your local weather forecasts and seeing what like the scientists and the meteorologists are saying. I don't have a lot of experience connecting with angels around weather forecasts, but let's see what they have coming up. So when I ask about weather, a big part of what I'm seeing is safety, and I'm seeing like lots of preparation that's happening around you. And it feels like it's preparation that you are part of as well. And I'm feeling the need to be prepared. That's the word that I keep hearing or the words that I keep hearing are be prepared. And it's repeating in my head over and over and over again. I'm not seeing anything in particular around fires, but I am seeing and feeling things being dry, which in our climate is really conducive to fire. But that's not specifically what I'm seeing. I see a lot of clearing that's happening, and I'm wondering if this is something that is proactive. So clearing spaces around property where fire could be. So with the preparations that I'm seeing, it feels like potentially this is going to be a challenge. But what I'm seeing for you personally is it feels like the preparation or the things that you're doing in preparation are things that are supporting you. They're keeping you safe and they're keeping any property that you have safe as well. I do have a bit of community feeling that's coming up around you. So potentially any people who might be around you, you might be working together and saying, hey, like this is something that none of us have any control over, but let's see what we can do to keep all of us safe rather than each of us working as individuals. Let's see if there's some common ground that we can come to and keep everybody safe. So I don't have anything really straightforward and clear that's saying, yes, there are fires coming, but I also don't have anything that's saying, no, they aren't. And I have a lot of preparation messages that are coming up. So I would encourage you to be as prepared as you possibly can be. This might mean making sure that you're conserving water or other things like that. I do see you being safe, and that feels like that's, a pretty important and significant part. Let's see, we're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we're just going to ask what messages are coming up for Leslie around the weather from the angels. Okay, so this to me is a card of protection. It's a really interesting card to come up for this question. This is Archangel Metatron, and this is Indigo and Crystal Children. You have a bond with children. In particular, you can help children who are sensitive. This card usually comes up for people also who are indigo and crystal children, and that indicates people who are really sensitive. So they pick up on things around people. They tend to prefer to have a lot of space. It tends to be a lot more comfortable for people who are indigo and crystal children not to deal with the BS. In fact, they have very limited capacity for dealing with BS. Authority tends to be a bit of a sticking point for them too, because a big part of what they focus on is the truth and the feeling that there is a lot that is being hidden when it comes to authority, and that there isn't as much transparency as there should be. So, I mean, for me, this card feels like it's really focusing on making sure that you're focusing on you and what it is that you need. I am seeing like a path being cleared for you as well. So if you identify either as a crystal or indigo child, or with any of the things that I've just spoken about, know that Archangel Metatron is helping to create a path for you to make things easier over the next little while. I'm also seeing, when you do square dancing and you kind of crisscross in a circle, like all of the women shake hands as they move around in a circle and all the men shake hands. That's a big part of what I'm seeing. So I am seeing community that's coming together, and I suspect that Archangel Metatron is helping to support that community and probably people who are like-minded as well. So know that it feels like you not only have support, but that there are supportive people around you too. Leslie, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of safety too. Awesome. Okay, so we've got, and if you want to, let me see. Okay, you've asked a couple of questions here, and I've got one that I can work with. So Ange is asking, am I making the right choice in my career path? Let's take a look and see what we've got coming up with career path. I'm hearing yes and a little bit of no. So primarily the message that I have is yes, but there's a little hesitation and a little bit of reservation that's kind of holding me back. And what that says is it feels like, yes, continue on the path that you're going on right now, but I'm also seeing continuing to scan for other options and other opportunities. So it feels like you're heading in the right direction overall. The best way The best way for me to describe this is actually going back to an experience that I had when I was a kid. Um, my I come from a family of five. There are three kids and my parents. And this particular day, I was going to a piano recital, and both sets, or well, my dad's parents, both of them, and my mom's mom were going with us as well. We couldn't all fit in one vehicle, and so we were going in two separate vehicles. My dad's car was in the front, and my mom's car was in the back. And my mom started to drive off without me. And fortunately, my dad saw what was happening and didn't let her leave the driveway without taking me. And it feels like that's kind of what's happening. Both of the cars are going to the same place. They have the final destination, but it feels like you might be in the wrong car. So part of part of what I would say about the car that perhaps you're in is that there is somebody or something that isn't quite aware of you or your capabilities, or isn't really as excited about you as they could be. And that sounds like that's kind of a bit of an potentially arrogant statement to make, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. So both the opportunity that you are exploring right now, it is going to get you to the final destination, but it feels like it might not be the best option to continue on to that best destination. So I'm seeing you continuing to scan to see what other options might be available for you that do take you to basically the same place, but you're just in another car with different experiences, different people. Trust me, the conversations in my dad's car would have been very different from the conversations that we had in my mom's car. Neither of them would have been bad. They were just different. And it feels like that's part of what we're looking at from an experience point of view, that there is something more that you can get while you're on this journey and heading to this particular destination. So yeah, you're on the right track, but keep an eye out for other opportunities. Let's see, we're going to go to the Mermaids and Dolphins cards for you, and we're just going to ask, what do you need to know about the career path that you're on right now? So the card that we have here is a new dawn. The worst is now behind you and positive new experiences are on the horizon. I suspect that a lot of this has to do with changes that you have already made. So it does feel like there is something or several things that you have made a very clear decision to leave in the past. And now you're focusing on what is in front of you, what is ahead of you, and the new opportunities that are available to you coming up. One of the things, and we've kind of talked around this idea from the beginning of our show today. One of the things that I'm feeling for you is being aware of how much of your past you're bringing forward with you. How much of the challenges or traumas or difficulties you've experienced in the past, how much of that you're going to allow to bring forward and potentially taint or color the experiences that you're having right now. A big part of what I'm seeing is I'm seeing you taking a fresh start. When something comes up for you, acknowledge it. Yeah, like I've been in a similar situation to this in the past. The situation in the past didn't work for me, so I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to keep an eye out. I'm not going to completely get rid of what's happening right now, but I'm going to be aware. And so it feels like there's an opportunity for awareness that really helps to shift and shape the experience that you're in. And it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and a lot of excitement about the career path that you're on right now too. Okay, let me see. Okay, so we've got Linda. And Linda's asking, do you see who my angels are? I'm specifically looking to see if someone named Isabel or Jim are angels of mine. Okay, this one's kind of a bit of a challenge for me, I think, from a couple of points of view. So angels don't have or haven't had experiences in this lifetime. So sometimes people will say, when a loved one crosses over to the other side, that person becomes their angel and they watch over them. And those aren't actually angels that we have. They're deceased. They would be deceased loved ones who are on the other side, who are going through other learning experiences and growing experiences. And yes, they can be very present with us while we're here. We can still feel them around us and feel their love and their support, and they encourage us often in more ways than they do while they're physically here. But there isn't a lot that they're able to do to intercede with things that are happening, which I think is one of the things, one of the benefits of having angels and working with angels on the other side, is that they are able to help us to make choices or potentially to shift into other experiences. And I haven't experienced deceased loved ones on the other side doing that. So when it comes to connecting with guardian angels, we all have multiple guardian angels. And I hesitate to give names to people's guardian angels. One, because names just aren't my thing. I don't get that very clearly. It's not my forte. And so it's not something that I personally do. But on top of that, there is a lot of opportunity that we have to get to know our guardian angels. And so our guardian angels usually are happy for us to call them whatever we want, whatever feels good for us. And usually they'll give us names that are really easy for us to understand. Or if it's a name that isn't easy for us to understand, like you might notice this if you listen to different languages that you aren't familiar with, that the words are kind of difficult because you're not accustomed to hearing them with your ear, because you're accustomed to the sounds that go in your own language. And so usually if they give us a name that we are really unfamiliar with, there'll be kind of like a shortened form for it that will make sense for us. So this is perhaps a poor example, but for example, we have Archangel Michael. And let's say that you weren't familiar with the name Michael, it was outside of your language and your frame of reference. And so possibly Archangel Michael would say, hey, no worries, you just call me Mikey or Mike or Mick. And that's just fine. And so, when it comes to connecting with our guardian angels, they have lots of different names that they can give us, and it has to do with our comfort. The fact that you are asking about them says to me that they're likely ones who are really connected to you because they've already given you those names to ask about, or they're deceased loved ones and they're with you in a slightly different but no less powerful way. So I'm sorry that I don't have a proper message that's coming up for you, but we are going to pull a card for you from the messages from your angels deck, and we're just going to see what comes up. There is a card in here that's kind of interesting, and I'm just kind of curious to see if it will come up. Nope, interesting. Okay, so the card that we have here is the Chantel card, and this is really interesting. New romance is imminent, either with a newcomer or through reignited passion in your existing relationship. Be open to giving and receiving love. What I find really interesting about this card is it feels like it doesn't actually have to do with romantic partnership and relationship with like a person or a partner who's physically here. But it feels like this is a deeper connection that you are coming to, both with guardian angels and potentially with deceased loved ones on the other side. And basically what I'm seeing is, doors being blown wide open or arms being held out just ready to give you a hug. One last message that's coming up around asking someone to come up or to connect with the name for your guardian angel, like what it is that's coming through for them, is that in a way you give away a piece or a part of the connection that you could have with them with establishing that. It might be seen in a similar way to giving birth to a child, and rather than you being part of the naming process, some random person off of the street just walks in and says, hey, your kid's name is Bob. You're like, well, Bob, I didn't have anything to do with connecting with that name. It doesn't have any meaning for me or for us as a family, and potentially doesn't have anything to do with the child that's there. So I would encourage you to invite in your guardian angels and ask them to connect with you in a meaningful way, to give them, to ask them to give you a name that they connect with, but really it's a name that you connect with. In terms of names, that's something that angels have taken on because it helps us to connect with them. Name doesn't give them any sort of identity, or it doesn't shift their purpose or how they're able to work and connect with us. A name is a really human thing. And so I see a lot of power and opportunity, or rather, not power, empowerment and opportunity to connect with your guardian angels and to ask them for their names if that's something that is meaningful for you. Linda, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to connect with the question that you were asking in the way that you would want, but I hope that the answer gave you, that you're able to take something away from it. It was truly a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Let me see. Uh, okay, so we've got Elizabeth here. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us. Elizabeth saying, my hubby is stressing about a job situation. So I am too. I'm not healthy, so I try to help, but need his income. What is in store for us? Thank you and blessings to all. So Elizabeth, first of all, I'm so glad that you're here with us this evening. Let's take a look and see what's coming up for you. I'm going to ask about finances in general, and ask that messages around work and career for you and for your hubby, most importantly, are coming up. Okay, so first of all, what I'm seeing is I've got that the monkey bar the monkey bar image that's coming up. And for me in this, it feels like it's kind of moving from paycheck to paycheck, or from amount of money to coming in, or month to month. So it feels to me like you are moving along. It's not too staggered, like there's just kind of enough that's coming in, whether that's coming in from like support from income, or from savings, or from some other support or assistance. Like I'm seeing just enough coming in to keep meeting all of the most important and relevant bills and expenses that you have. It feels to me like that as a baseline is continuing for your financial situation. As we start to move into the middle of next month, so we're currently the middle of May right now, as we move into the middle of June, I'm seeing that kind of baseline of just having enough and just kind of scraping by. I'm seeing that moving and increasing, so that there is more money that's coming in, and there is a sense of relief that's coming. When I ask where that's coming in, that does feel like it's coming in from employment. And when I ask for who it is coming in for your husband. When I ask about where that employment is coming from, it feels like there's a bit of a shift that he's making. And I'm seeing him shaking it off his legs. So it's almost like there is something that's kind of holding him back to something. He's just kind of dragging along. It's either something that isn't fulfilling for him, or he's not enjoying it, or it's not paying the bills. It feels like it's something he's kind of pulling along, and he is severing and cutting that cord and that tie, and that is sliding off. It's falling away, and there is this new opportunity that's coming up that is it is going to be a little bit of a climb, but that it is something that is going to provide relief for at least a little while. What I'm seeing with it is it feels like I'm hearing it gets the job done, and it is okay for right now. It feels like there might be another shift that's happening about 6 months out. So I'm seeing us coming into like November, December, January, February. So that's a little bit longer than 6 months, but that's kind of the timeline and the time frame that I'm seeing. And I'm seeing a new opportunity that's coming up for him. It feels like it's an opening that's coming out of this other work or job or experience that he's moving into. And that is the one that blows things wide open. It's like, yes, this is the groove that I've been looking for. The money and finances are feeling really good, but more importantly, like the work that I'm doing is feeling really good. There's a stress that's let go, and I feel like I'm finally able to start putting myself into my work, and I feel like I'm making a difference, and it feels really good. So to kind of summarize what we've got going on as we head into mid-June, it feels like there's something that he is shaking off, that he's letting go of, and he's able to do that because of this other thing that comes in. It's not the dream job, but it is bringing in enough money, and it's okay for what it is for right now. But I'm seeing him continuing to work towards another opportunity is how I'm wanting to phrase this. So I don't know if he has any desire for like self-employment of some sort or to work in a completely different capacity, but the change that I'm seeing coming up towards the end of this year into the beginning of next year, it feels like it's a really significant change. It feels like it's something that he really enjoys, and it feels like it's something that he's going to be putting some work and some effort into building, creating, and coming into a place of things really working out. And I'm seeing him with support coming up for that. Yeah. So if there is any option where you are right now to look at a program where he'd receive support, if there is something he's wanting to do from a self-employment point of view, to look into that, because that's kind of in line with the type of shift and change that I'm seeing, something completely new opening up for him that he's putting a lot of himself into, but that he's getting a lot back from. And I kind of wonder if that's part of either what I'm seeing for like this June forward, or that's the really big shift that we're seeing in November. But yeah, those November to February, those are going to be really significant months for this other thing starting. And it's night and day between where he is right now and where he's going to be. And it feels like it has a really wonderful improvement on the relationship and the home life that the two of you share as well, is it's something that's taking stress off. And I just had a jumper. So when you shuffle cards and a card falls out, we call that a jumper. And I was just kind of generally asking, what do you need to know about work situation? And the message that comes through is make a decision. So feeling stuck or indecisive, listen to your intuition and make a decision. When we put off making a choice or making a decision, we're choosing to stay where we are. We're choosing to stay in the circumstances and the situation that we're in. This feels like there's a gradual aspect to it, but it feels like part of what's coming up for him is making the choice and decision. What is it that he is wanting to do? He can choose to stay in what he's in right now or this other opportunity that's coming up in June. But what if there was something else that was even better, that was in alignment with what he wants to be doing, with how he wants to be living with the world, with the money and the finances that he's wanting to bring into your household in order to support you and your family? And it feels like that's part of the choice and the decision that's coming up for him. And it feels like it's a little bit scary, but what I'm seeing is that the path is relatively smooth. I mean, not that it isn't scary, because change can be really scary, but it feels like it's a really great opportunity, not only for him, but for you and for like you guys as a unit and as a family. I'm seeing lots of opportunities opening up. Elizabeth, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of abundance and affirmation to you and your family as well. Awesome. Oops, I think that I have just missed. My screen has just jumped all over. It's just jumped all over the place, and I'm not exactly sure where where I am anymore. Let me just see here. I think that I've kind of ended up down towards the bottom. Okay, so you guys, I'm really sorry. I'm not exactly sure where I was. I'm pulling one more. And so we've got Cassandra here. Hi, Cassandra. Thanks for joining us. Cassandra saying, so late, so sorry. No worries. My little girl is feeling unwell. Oh, please send healing thoughts and energy, stuffy nose and trouble sleeping. I am sending big hugs, lots of love and lots of support to your little one. And if she's able to breathe fairly easily, have her try this, where she takes a full breath and plugs her nose and holds it for a little while until she feels like she is out of breath and out of air. Don't do it until she feels really, really uncomfortable, but just to hold on to it for a little bit. The reason is when you hold on to your carbon dioxide and you're not actively expelling it, it acts as a vasodilator, which helps to open up all of the vessels in our body, the blood vessels in our body allows blood to flow freely, but it can also help with congestion in our nose. So again, don't try anything that feels really uncomfortable, but but give that a go. let me let me see. Um, okay, so I feel like I've got room for one more. We've got Michelle here. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us again. My apologies to anybody that I may have unintentionally jumped over. I don't know what's happening with my screen. Michelle's asking, what do you see for my love life currently and for the next 6 months? So when I ask about love life, I'm seeing a sense of growth and expansion and continuing. So I'm not exactly sure if you currently have a partner in your life right now. It feels like potentially that may be the case. And if that's the case, there is a sense of a growth that's happening. But I'm also seeing, if that's not the case, the opportunity for new relationship and new connection coming into your life as well. So there's a sense of opening in your heart. And what can happen with that is we become more open to connecting with people who are on same or similar wavelength to us, and where there's a sense of things becoming brighter and easier. There's more love that is being shared. We are more open to receiving love as well as to giving love. And there's just this really beautiful sense of opening that I'm experiencing for you over the next 4 to 6 months. If that's not currently what you are experiencing in the moment, a big part of the encouragement that would come up for you is to resolve to release anything that isn't serving you. So if you are in a relationship and you're like, man, this does not feel like this is loving and supportive, take a look and see if there are changes either that you can make, or you can ask of your partner, or possibly there's an overall change that's needing to be made. But if you are in a place of loving support in a current relationship, then I am seeing a greater amount of love that is being shared between the two of you. There's growth, there's building that's happening, and there is a sense of excitement that's coming up too. There is an opportunity for healing, which feels like it's amazing. And regardless of your current situation, when I look that 4 to 6 months out, it does feel like there is partnership, relationship. There's a sense of building. There's a sense of love and expansion and exploration, and it's feeling really positive. Michelle, let's just take a look. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we're just going to ask what messages are coming up for Michelle around relationship and partnership. And the card that we have here is Archangel Azrael, and it's the counselor card. His message is, you are a natural counselor and many people benefit from your guidance and reassurance. And although that may be very true, I'm seeing this card coming up as being encouragement to either be your own counselor or to explore opportunities around healing with somebody else. So that could be in an existing partnership and relationship, that could be with friends, that could be going out and finding a counselor and specifically focusing on healing, on expanding capacity to give and receive love. So letting go of anything that might hinder that, or coming into new understanding of the things that might be hindering that. But there is definitely some healing that's happening in the next little while. And the result is something that feels really positive, loving, supportive, and it feels like there's a lot of foundation that's being built too. Michelle, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love, support, and romance angels your way. We have come to the end of our show this evening. It is always a pleasure for me to connect with you in this way. I'm truly grateful for the time that you've taken out of your day to be here with me. I'm Erin Lee of heavenlymessenger.com. If you would like to connect for your own personal reading, you can do so on my website, bookingwitherin.com. I'm not currently seeing people in person, but my fingers are crossed that there's an end sight in that as we get things working with the property where I'll be able to start seeing people outside on the beach. So keep your fingers crossed. In the meantime, readings are available by phone, Skype, and Zoom, again on bookingwitherin.com. And Bobby and I are planning on being back this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, which is 6:30 p.m. Eastern, on my Heavenly Messenger Facebook page, on my Heavenly Messenger YouTube page until we get the Universal Connections page up and running, Bobby Roundtree Spiritual Mediumship Facebook page, and the Universal Connections Facebook page too. Lots of Facebook pages, one YouTube page, and of course our website, universalconnections.ca. Thank you all so much for joining me, sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and I will see you on Sunday or next Tuesday. Take care.